पॉलिसी बाजार पर 1 करोड़ रुपए का टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस केवल 450 रुपए महीने से शुरू। वाह!
Good evening and welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the program tonight, Prime Minister Modi today visited his mother, Hiraben Modi, who is in a hospital in Ahmedabad since last night. She's 99 years old. Having flown in from Delhi around 4 p.m., he left the hospital just before 5:30, spending over an hour with his mother. A statement from the UN Mehta Institute of Cardiology and Research Centre has said that the condition of Hiraben Modi, who turned 99 in June this year, is stable. The hospital hasn't shared any other information. In a little while from now, we'll bring you details of the condition of the Prime Minister's mother, someone the Prime Minister has often been seen with, and he's written extensively about Hiraben as well. Next up on the show, and it's a 1-hour special tonight, the Congress has written to Home Minister Amit Shah alleging multiple breaches in the security of the Bharat Jodo Yatra. They've demanded proper protection for their party leader Rahul Gandhi. In a letter to the Home Minister, the Congress General Secretary KC Venugopal has said that the security of the Yatra was compromised on several occasions following its entry into Delhi. Now, there are allegations that this was willful. Was it? That's what we'll be debating. And finally, a huge NDTV exclusive. We'll be joined by the Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia in a wide-ranging discussion at a time when India has been seeing record domestic passenger travel. From infrastructure to safety, airfares, prices and the cost of aviation turbine fuel, also the road to making India a genuine hub for global travel. That's what we'll be talking about with Jyotiraditya Scindia. But first, the condition of the 99-year-old mother of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I'm joined now by my colleague Sohit Mishra. Sohit, what are you hearing?
Well, as of now, what we can say is exactly what you said, Vishnu, is that the condition of Hiraben Modi is stable. She is being treated in the hospital that is present behind me. This is the UN Mehta Institute of Cardiology and Research Centre. And in the afternoon, around 4 p.m., Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited this hospital. He was here for around 90 minutes. He spoke to the treating doctors as well as the family members who were present over here. Apart from him, several leaders from the BJP, be it the cabinet ministers of Gujarat or the MLAs as well as union ministers, they have been visiting. In fact, recently, like few minutes ago, Ramdas Athavale, the union minister, he visited at the hospital. Apart from that, C.R. Patil, Kuwarji Bavadia, Raghavji Patel, Balwant Singh Rajput, these are all cabinet ministers who also visited over here. As of now, the doctors aren't saying much. The statement that was once released in the afternoon, it says that her health is stable. Apart from that, nothing has been said as of now that why has she been admitted. However, as per our sources, what we have come to know is that she was facing difficulty in breathing and also she had some blood pressure issue, after which she has been brought to the hospital and she is admitted over here. Apart from the Prime Minister, the Chief Minister as well as the Health Minister,
there have been so many reactions from people across the country. 1 second, Sohit, half a second. In fact, Rahul Gandhi has responded, has tweeted out as well. Priyanka Gandhi has tweeted as well. Rahul Gandhi, for example, says, "The love between a mother and a son is eternal and priceless. Modi ji, my love and support is with you in this difficult time. I hope your mother gets well soon." You know, Sohit, at a time when political leaders are, you take on each other in the manner which they do, both Priyanka Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi reaching out to the Prime Minister, at this crucial hour, with this strong message, and we've seen others as well. How has that been reflected in Gujarat?
Absolutely. Even in Gujarat, we have been seeing that leaders, not only leaders, but also people from all spectrum have been speaking, as well as they have been tweeting and praying for the health of Hiraben Modi. Now, if we speak about Gujarat, whenever you talk about Narendra Modi, Hiraben Modi needs to be mentioned. Like recently, I can tell you on 5th of December, there was the voting for the second phase, and on 4th of December, Prime Minister Narendra Modi reached to Gujarat, he reached to Ahmedabad and he visited her mother. Before that, in June, when it was her 99th birthday, even then the Prime Minister came to Gujarat. He also wrote a long blog on that how her mother has been supporting him since childhood, what all sacrifices she has done. If you remember that, even when he went to the Facebook headquarters, even over there, the Prime Minister has been speaking about this. I have been speaking to the BJP leaders as well as their local people over here. Prime Minister, when he became when Narendra Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, there was a time when he called all of his teachers at the stage, and the first person to whom he asked to sit in the stage was Hiraben Modi. He said that you are my first teacher in life. So these are several instances, and because of which, if I talk about Gujarat, a lot of people have been questioning, inquiring. In fact, there were a lot of workers who were present over here. However, they have been asked to go back because this is a hospital and there are ambulances that are coming over here. So yes, a lot of people have been praying about her health. They have been tweeting about it, be it the political leaders of other parties. There are businessmen as well as other people. So yes, everyone has been mentioning and praying for the long health of Hiraben Modi.
All right, thanks very much, Sohit, for joining us with those details. Well, we're going to move on now, and the big debate this evening, and just another reminder, in a little while from now, we'll have that big exclusive of ours in conversation with Jyotiraditya Scindia, the Civil Aviation Minister. But the Congress has alleged a major security breach today. This has been taking place in the Bharat Jodo Yatra. They say that the Delhi police has not been doing enough to protect Rahul Gandhi. There should be a cordon which is around him, but there have been several breaches which have taken place throughout the length and the breadth of the Yatra. Well, let's just take a look at what the Congress party has said, and then we'll try and break it into specifics and see how the BJP is responding.
रोकने का षड्यंत्र है, भारत जोड़ो यात्रा को बदनाम करने का षड्यंत्र है, और जोड़ने के इस यज्ञ को कौन रोकना चाहेगा? जाहिर सी बात है, वो रोकना चाहेगा जो तोड़ना चाहता है भारत को। तो सबके चेहरे सबके सामने आ रहे हैं, कौन जोड़ना चाह रहा है और वो जोड़ने के लिए क्या क्या कर रहा है। 108 दिन लगातार चल रहे हैं, और तोड़ने वाले अपनी पुलिस के माध्यम से, अपनी दोस्ताना मीडिया के माध्यम से, अलग अलग माध्यम से इस यात्रा में खलल डालने की कोशिश की जा रही है।
Well, joining me now, Rohan Gupta of the Congress Party, Ranbir Singh Pathania of the BJP, Ashutosh and Alok Lal, a former Director General of Police. Rohan, what specifically took place in Delhi as a result of which you believe there was a breach of Rahul Gandhi's security?
Vishnu, Rahul ji is Z+ security protecting, and if you see the video released by Congress Party, normally there should be a perimeter formed around Rahul ji. If you see the video released at Delhi, absolutely the security was compromised, and security personnel, their responsibility should have been to form the perimeter around Rahul ji. And you can see in this video that our workers and the Bharat Yatris, they had to do the job. So I think it's a serious security lapse, and we have not seen this kind of security lapse anywhere across India till now. That's why Venugopal ji has written a letter to Amit Shah ji regarding the security lapse. And there are 2-3 other incidences where even in Haryana we have filed a FIR for few intelligence officers of Haryana entering our containers without any kind of permission. So I think it's a serious issue, and now since Yatra is going to enter state of Punjab and Jammu and Kashmir, it becomes more critical to ensure proper security of Rahul ji and all the Bharat Yatris.
Rohan, I understand what you're saying, but I'm also trying to understand if this is a Bharat Jodo Yatra where Rahul Gandhi interacts with people on the ground, common citizens, then how do those other citizens, he's been filmed with hundreds, if not thousands, how do they get to be in proximity to him?
So obviously there is a security protocol. So whoever comes close to him, obviously they have to pass through the security check. There is a list which is prepared there, and those people only they can talk to Rahul ji. But if you see the system of Bharat Jodo Yatra, there is a perimeter, perimeter which is formed, and there is a security professionals which are around Rahul ji, and a kind of semicircle is formed, and the Yatra moves forward. You see in Delhi, it was completely breached. You can see people around Rahul ji, you can see security personnel around him. So I think it's a serious security breach, and this cannot be allowed. Since Yatra is going to enter Punjab and JNK, it becomes more and more critical. And across India, this has never happened. This is only in state of Delhi, this has happened. In 108 days, you take any state, this has not happened.
Ranbir Singh Pathania, would you like to respond to that? The allegation is that there's something unusual over here. What triggered a lapse like this? Yeah.
Vishnu, there is a one sentence answer to it. Picking up issues just out of thin air. This is what the grand old party wants to do, because the entire impact, we are not, either we are concerned, nor we could say, I was seeing a series of datelines what is the BJP stand, how the BJP is comforted with regard to, we are not at all concerned, absolutely not, but this is more or less a physical exercise or more or less another remake of Forrest Gump in India. That's nothing more than that. But the Congress is given to the habits of picking up issues just out of thin air, just trying to level one charge, one allegation, another counter allegation. This yatra virtually has no intent, no purpose, no logic, and no message at all.
No, we'll talk about the yatra in a moment, but the allegation of security breach plus apparently people
Vishnu,
going into their containers in Haryana.
With due respect, this is this is not a political issue. If let us assume for the sake of argument that the yatra security has been compromised, so this needs to be taken up on merits. There cannot be a political color. There cannot be a political background to it. And there cannot be a
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
This needs to be examined if some officers have erred, if some agencies have erred.
So, Rohan, are you making a political point of this? Because I think Ranveer Pathania has an important point that how is this a political issue? Shouldn't it be something you raise with the CRPF that protects it?
Absolutely not. We have released the videos where we can see that security has been compromised. For a Z plus protectee, this shouldn't have happened. That's it. That's what we are saying. It is upon government to ensure, number one, why this has happened, something which shouldn't have happened.
But was it deliberate or was it a mistake of security? Because they're two very separate issues.
We have not said, absolutely, we have not said that, Vishnu, in our letter also. We are clearly saying there is a security lapse, and why this has happened, this needs to be investigated. If two intelligence officers of Haryana, they entered the containers without permission, why this has happened, this needs to be interrogated. That's what we are saying.
Rohanji, one take, sir. Rohanji, have you, I understand, Rohanji, what you said, that this is purely needs to be assessed, needs to be examined on merits. But have you seen the press conference of Mr. Pawan Khela ji? How you are trying, how you are trying to score political
why not? If you see Bharat Jodo Yatra, 108 days, there are at least 10 to 15 times BJP has tried to malign it. There are many times they have released the fake news about the yatra. There are many times they have tried to malign the image of Rahul ji. So obviously people who are responsible, you are not happy with the success.
This is what you have been doing.
So you are ensuring that
one sentence.
You are trying to malign the yatra, which you will not be successful. You cannot go into politics and you cannot malign the yatra. You started beginning your saying that this yatra is not successful. We are not debating that here, right? We are nobody to debate the kind of response yatra is seeing. It is upon people to decide. You are here as a representative of this government or a party which is in power. You tell us why this kind of security breaches happened. If you have to answer, you have to answer that question.
Rohanji, one sentence. Your
permission.
The entire yatra has not been able to make a scratch. You have not been able to catch the aspirations and the inspirations of India. This is what you are doing. Just trying to pick up issues, just trying to give political color, just trying to make political points.
All right, both of you, 1 second. You can't hear either of you. I will come back to both of you. I just want to go across to Mr. Alok Lal, a former Director General of Police. In a situation like this, isn't it very difficult for security at the best of times to maintain a cordon if a political leader is moving, if there are large crowds, which is what the Bharat Jodo Yatra is all about? Would you say that this is a security failing, or the path chosen by a leader, based on his own political ambitions, his own desire to get to a particular place?
Vishnu, there can be no doubt about the view that the security of important persons should not be compromised, especially such politically important people as Shri Rahul Gandhi is. So, since his security was reduced from earlier SPG to the current Z plus 3 years ago, I think it's even more important for state police forces to be very careful when he's touring those areas, because the state police forces play a very vital role in securing these VIPs, because A, the intelligence inputs about the threat perception, and B, the outer cordon security, because Z plus security has a detail of 55 personnel. So you can well understand that you need a lot more, really, in crowds that are gathering at his march. One can see quite a few people are coming.
Okay.
Therefore, there has to be an outer cordon to be provided by the local police, based especially on the threat perception which the local police can best have.
And based on what you have seen, do you believe that there was a failure in Delhi?
I can't say because I have only seen a few visuals as shown on your news
Yeah,
channel.
I mean, we'll play those out again. Does that
However,
not seem...
I don't know who are the people immediately surrounding him. They could be SPG
Congress
people.
workers. The Congress party says that they're their own workers because the Z plus security personnel were not present.
Vishnu, during this...
Z plus
this
would be
yatra
CRPF,
itself,
right, sir? Mr. Lal?
During this yatra itself, we have seen that there was some trouble in Indore and in some other parts of Madhya Pradesh. So the threat perception has gone up that much more. I think in case people have been able to get access to somebody somewhere very close to Mr. Rahul Gandhi, then there is certainly a security breach.
Ashutosh, how do you read this? Do you believe that this was willfully done?
Vishnu, first of all, I think we have to understand that this is Delhi. In Delhi, the law and order is under the Home Minister, that is the Mr. Amit Shah. But we have to also understand that this yatra has walked through Karnataka, where the BJP government was there, in Madhya Pradesh, where the BJP government was there, in Maharashtra, where the BJP government was there, and the Congress did not complain about any security breach in these three states. So if something has happened in Delhi, I think it should be taken seriously. I'm not saying this has been done willfully, but if there is a complaint by the Congress party, then that complaint has to be taken seriously. And if there is a breach, that has to be understood why this has happened. And see, the security forces cannot say that, the BJP cannot say that since he is moving and so we can't provide them security. That's no excuse. Either they can provide security or they can't provide security. If they can't provide security, then they should say, we cannot provide security, so you can't move like this. But this, since the yatra is allowed, that means security can be provided. And if security can be provided, then the responsibility lies with the security forces, and especially in Delhi, because where the security forces police directly reports to the Home Ministry, that comes directly under the Amit Shah. So I think it should be taken seriously. It should not be taken lightly. The country has seen unfortunate incidents in the past, and country cannot afford to do anything in future.
But Tanya, the other point being raised is that he'll be traveling to Jammu and Kashmir. The security perception over there, the threat over there, obviously much larger. Shouldn't more be done to reassure members of the Bharat Jodo Yatra that they will be protected?
Vishnu, I stick to my stand that come what may, Mr. Rahul ji is a protected person as per the security plan, as per his security categorization, whatsoever is due with him and whatsoever is due as per the exigencies of time and place, it needs to be done. In case, if there is a breach, there need to be a subjective assessment of the same. Very, very subjective assessment. Please, there's no point, there's no logic, there's no reason behind politicizing a very small issue. I mean to say that this should be the prime duty and the concern of the government to provide security to him. But you want to make a flash in the pan, you want to make issues, just derive issues out of thin air. This is bad, what I say. And in Jammu and Kashmir, I want to make it a point. What is this Bharat Jodo Yatra? We are going to rub shoulders with Farooq Abdullah and Mehbooba Mufti, Gupkar gang, Bharat Todo, those who are against the integration of Jammu and Kashmir with India, those who question the accession of Jammu and Kashmir with India. Bharat ka jhanda uthane wala koi nahi milega. This is what Mehbooba Mufti said. Farooq Abdullah, he goes to China to restore Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir. And this is Bharat Jodo or this is Bharat Todo. They are rubbing the shoulders with Kani Mohi. And she is an accused in a 2G spectrum scam. What is this Bharat Jodo? What is this Jimikri? What is this Estronics?
Okay, all right.
I want to question it, sir.
All right, Rohan, go ahead, respond to that.
So Vishnu, the real issue is the success of Bharat Jodo Yatra. When he started his comments, he was not talking about the security breach. He was talking that Bharat Jodo Yatra is not successful. See, obviously, when you have this kind of yatra by opposition party which has united India, the party in power should have problem. I absolutely don't think anything wrong with his arguments. He has to be shattered. He has to be frustrated. And he has to ask questions. He is free to do that. He cannot raise questions. See, Bharat Jodo Yatra is about uniting the country. And we invited even Mr. Mr. Mohan Bhagwat to join the Yatra because this is about India. It is against fear, it is against hatred, it is against any kind of negativity which is spread in country today. And that's why Rahul ji went to Samadhi of Atal ji, because the message is to protect our democracy. Even if we have the ideological issues with Atal ji, that doesn't mean that when it comes to protecting the democracy, obviously in his terrain or in his regime, this kind of things never happened that anybody speaking against the government, the action is taken by the agency and the voice is crushed. No, that is what the Bharat Jodo is all about. You can question us about the people joining, you can question us about 110 things, but you cannot deny the fact that Israel is united the country and lakhs and crores of people, they have joined Bharat Jodo Yatra. You are discussing on this debate today because Bharat Jodo Yatra is successful. All the things are happening.
Go on half a second. Let Ranbir reply, and then I'll come back to you. Yes.
Sir, my point is, Rohanji, why do you hate us so much? You have been selling that you have been promoting peace, brotherhood, and love. Why do you hate Bharatiya Janata Party? This is what I want to say. Why do you leaders hate us, sir? We are the elected people. We have been again and again by the people. Why do you hate us? You have been promoting. You have been against hatred. You have been against hatred. Why you are picking up such empty issues against us? Why do you hate us so much? I want to say. Why do your party hate us so much, sir? What's
Please
wrong
come
with
and
us?
join Yatra with me. Your hate will go.
We have come through a genuine power of the vote, sir. Where is the point in hating us so much? Please have love. Why you want to promote love? You want to peace. You want to promote peace, and you are promoting hatred against the Bharatiya Janata Party. We are the elected Sarkar. We are the elected people. Sir, people have elected us.
All right, 1 second. Let me just go across to Ashutosh. Ashutosh, is this more about the BJP being worried about the Bharat Jodo Yatra and less about security? How do you read this new development?
See, first of all, the BJP spokesperson has said these are the empty issues, these are small issues. I think these are not a small issue. Security breach can never be a small issue. And I think Mr. Alok Nath will agree with me, Alok Lal will agree with me. Security breach of a Z plus security protectee is not a small issue. And I've already said it. The country has seen have seen what happens when the security breach happens. India has lost 2 ex-prime ministers. So can we afford to do that in future? Unfortunately, that should not happen. See, second point is, I think again, this shows very categorically, if Rahul Gandhi is so insignificant, if Congress party is so insignificant, then the BJP and their spokesperson should not incessantly attack it. They are doing it, that means they realize that the Congress party is a big political party in this country. It is a big stake in the country. Rahul Gandhi is the leader of that political party. Third point, I think the BJP spokesperson should also realize that they were kith and kin with the PDP. Mehbooba Mufti, Farooq Abdullah was a cabinet minister, Umar Abdullah was a cabinet minister, and now you suddenly decided that they have become the Gupkar gang, they are the Bharat Todo gang. I think what...
Okay, so 2 points over there. Ranbir, reply to both of them. Firstly, is the BJP not underestimating the Congress, at least as far as this rally is concerned? And secondly, you're questioning, political leaders who have once been part of the government.
Vishnu Som, first of all, I said we have least problem, we have least issues with the Bharat Jodo Yatra, but the way histrionics, gimmickry have been played on the political landscape of India, that's why we are concerned about it. We are trying to create issues out of it, trying to make left turns and U-turns and right turns. That's the problem with us. And with regard to the allegation of Mr. We are the people who brought down the government. Once Mehbooba ji wanted to go on the lighter track, we brought down our own government. We got the government, we got the assembly dissolved, and we got for a fresh delimitation, a fresh constitution. Ultimately, a chapter was written in the history of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, on a symbolic basis, for a particular period, Umar Abdullah was not Farooq Abdullah. Umar Abdullah was a minister in the Vajpayee cabinet. That situation was somewhat else. After 5th of August 2019, sir, the entire India has rallied behind. The entire India. I dare Congress to say, if they want to side with the National Conference or PDP and oppose revocation of Article 370 from Jammu and Kashmir, they cannot say. This is the dominant. This is the, we could say, the.
All right. So Rohan, it goes back to that, and this is the final point. Ranbir, I'm running short of time. Let him reply to that. That you are allying with those who are opposed to the idea of a united India.
That's it. Bharat Todo.
Vishnu, This is the question raised by the person of the party who has been in this government with these people for 6 years. So I don't have to answer this. See, again, when we say that Mr. Mohan Bhagwat is also welcome to join the Yatra, it's about uniting the country. It's not about negativity, it is about positivity. When Rahulji can go to Samadhi of Atalji, obviously there is no negativity. And they cannot ask us question whether it is Farooq Abdullah or Mehbooba Mufti. They have been in government for so many years. And just them joining Yatra means that three said, no, that's absolutely wrong. My point here is very simple, that BJP is completely shattered because of the success of Yatra. Every state they have tried to raise new issue. Every state they have tried to come out with new fake news, but they have been completely shattered. And then every time I see people...
All right. Well, I think one way or the other, Rohan, I think it's important that the security of political leaders is assured, and perhaps there would be more assurances going forward. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us. I want to move on now to our big focus this evening. We're looking at the civil aviation sector. Jyotiraditya Scindia, the civil aviation minister, in a conversation with me earlier on today, spoke about the record numbers that we're actually seeing in terms of domestic travel at this stage. But there are also problems on infrastructure. There are problems on the cost of aviation turbine fuel. So I did ask him these questions. These were some of his answers. This is the full interview. Well, it's been a record period as far as civil aviation and domestic sector growth is concerned. We are now seeing rapid growth in this sector. In fact, the numbers are absolutely astounding. And the question that really needs to be looked at is this just about pent-up demand because so many travelers weren't able to travel during the COVID period? Or is this really a resurgence of this sector? And going forward, what exactly does it mean? Very special guest with us, the Civil Aviation Minister, Jyotiraditya Scindia. Mr. Scindia, let's reflect first on the numbers. December 24th, 4.35 lakh domestic travelers. Is this because of pent-up demand, or do you believe that this is symbolic perhaps of growth in our economy as well?
Well, first of all, Vishnu, thank you very much for having me. Let me be very clear that I certainly believe that the civil aviation sector in India is heralded for new growth opportunities and growth that is going to be sequential and permanent. The civil aviation sector in the last, if you take out the COVID years, has experienced close to about 10.6% growth. And the surprising factor in this is that growth has really not come from what you and I normally emphasize with the civil aviation sector, which is the tier 1 cities and such, but really tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Right. Because tier 1 city growth has been close to about 5.9%, but tier 2 and tier 3 city growth has been almost 35% on a CAGR basis. So that's where the growth potential is coming from. If you look at the numbers, and these are really reassuring numbers, not necessarily a data point, which is December 24th, right, which by itself is a new record. Our record prior to
year on year, it's been
prior to COVID was about 4.2, and we've broken that multiple times in the last 10 days, right, and the record in the last 10 days has been broken again on the 24th of December at 4.35. But that to me is not as, it is significant, but not as significant as if you look at the pro rata numbers of your bumper year, which was calendar year 2019, right, prior to COVID, where we had 144 million domestic flyers. And if you look at that on a pro rata basis, you're looking at roughly about 95 million up till November. And this year, up till November, we've already touched 111 million flyers, which means that you've experienced a growth of almost 15% in the 11 months of this year. And therefore, I see this year as being a new growth year for civil aviation. Sure. And that's really coming from two factors. One, of course, is a tremendous desire of people wanting to travel. And the second really is a huge growth in terms of the value proposition, in terms of airlines increasing their fleet size, right, as well as the number of airports growing.
So let's talk a little bit about a couple of these points. Infrastructure are we at a stage when, the infrastructure which we have, particularly in cities like Delhi or airports like Delhi, is at capacity, and in the immediate foreseeable future, that's going to be a problem. No matter how many more scanners or more CISF, because the growth has been so high that the infrastructure, at least for a period of time, is going to be at its maximum capacity. Is that a concern for you?
So 2 points in answer to you. Of course, growth brings along with it tremendous demands on infrastructure. And we've kept that in mind as we go along.
Right.
So if you look at airports such as Delhi, you have a capacity of close to 70 million today, going to go to close to about 100 million by mid next year. You're going to become one of the largest airports in the world,
Right.
way beyond JFK and Atlanta and airports such as that. But you have also put in place a new facility in Jewar, which by 2024 will have a 12 million capacity, and in its fourth phase will have close to about 70 million.
Right.
So Delhi itself is going to grow from close to 70 million to 170 million over the next 6 to 7 years.
Right.
A similar situation in Bombay, which today is at max capacity roughly about 60 million, but you're building out a new airport now in Navi Mumbai.
Right.
Bangalore has increased its capacity from almost 26 million to 55 million with the new terminal, which will start in early Jan. And similar story for you in Chennai as well as Hyderabad and Kolkata. So if you look at the 6 metros in India, our innate capacity, which was roughly about 192 million, will grow to almost 420 million over the next 4 to 5 years.
Right.
So we are geared for that growth. The second point I want to make is that if you look at the spread of airports across the country, in India we had roughly about 74 airports until 13-14.
Yeah.
In the last 8 years, we have built out close to about another 72 airports. So we're today at 146. And my target is that in the next 4 to 5 years, I would like to see this number cross 200.
Sure.
So that's the kind of, if you will, the breadth and the depth of infrastructure capacity that we're looking to have in place. The last point I want to make before you pose your next question is that the statement that you made, that irrespective of how many scanners we have in place and how many gates we have in place, is not very true. An airport is a very important conjunct between the demand that is created by the market and our population and the supply that is put in place by airlines. Now, it's a very important part of the cog of that value chain. And its primary responsibility is to make sure that the demand meets the supply.
Right.
For that, you need to do 2 things. And this is more of an operations exercise, which I had to do in the last month over successive meetings, where you need to put in capacity at the supply side based on the throughput capability of your airport. And if you have, and the problem is where? The problem is really in the peak hours, which is 0500 to 0900.
Right.
So if you're able to schedule the number of arrivals and departures depending on your throughput capability, and B, increase your throughput capability at the airport by putting in place those scanners and those security lines. So for example, in Delhi, we had only 11 plus 2 when I took my first meeting on the 7th of December. Today, on the 28th of December, we have close to about 21 in place.
Right.
So we almost doubled the capacity.
Right.
And now, if you go to the Delhi airport, there are no lines. So therefore, it's an operations exercise that has to be finessed. And that has been done in Delhi. We are in the process of doing that in Bombay and in Bangalore. And then those airports will be able to function at full capacity.
Sure. Let's talk about the state of our airlines. There has been a consolidation in the sector. There's an expanded Air India right now, Vistara, Air Asia. It's all part of the larger Air India group. But they are fairly okay as far as cash is concerned. Indigo is reasonably okay as far as cash is concerned. Many of the other airlines are not. Is that a cause of concern that you've got 2 large viable entities, but many of the smaller airlines are struggling in terms of cash reserves?
Well, I think it's been a very difficult time for airlines across the board in the world the last 3 years. And we're still not out of the woods. All our airlines are still making losses. But I do believe that as demand picks up, the economies of scale arguments comes in, fleet sizes grow, I think we'll be able to be over the hump. What I'm doing as a minister, it's not my job as civil aviation minister to look at the balance sheets of all airlines, because that's the responsibility of each airline entity in terms of the business environment in which it functions. But it certainly is my responsibility to provide as much as possible a playing field in which they can operate efficiently. And one of the first things that I did when I took charge as aviation minister and looked at the cost structure of airlines And across the board in India, almost 50% of the cost structure of an airline is air turbine fuel.
Yes.
And states in India levy a VAT ranging from 1% to 30%
You've
on
corrected
ATF.
that. But not,
And
all,
so we had-
not in all states.
So we had, so
BJP ruled states have seen this come down.
as opposed to saying, looking at what is left, I think it's important to understand the journey that we have progressed on in a short span of the last 17 months, and that too coming out of COVID. We had 12 states that had a range of VAT between 1 to 4% when I came in, and we had close to about 24 states that had a VAT prohibitive rate of close to 20 to 30%. Today, after 17 months of persuasion, folding hands, making them understand the Laffer curve argument of if you raise a lower level of taxes, revenues will rise, the fact that refueling will happen much more in states where tax levels are low, and I must, through your channel and through you, thank the 16 state governments across the board that have moved from a 20-30% VAT regime to a 1 to 4%. So we today have close to about 12 plus 16, 28 states that are in the 1 to 4% as opposed to 12, and we have only 8 states left in the prohibitive basket of 20 to 30% as opposed to 24 last year. So that huge metamorphosis change has happened, and many states have benefited from this in very, very early days. Let me give you the case of point of Srinagar. In the UT of J&K, when they lowered VAT from 30% to 3% or 4%, within 2 weeks, refueling levels went up by 360%.
Right.
And therefore, the economic argument then comes into place. Connectivity has grown tremendously in Srinagar. So those are, and we have to understand, and state governments also have to understand that civil aviation is a precursor to economic growth.
Right.
And not the other way around, the mantra, which used to be the other way around 20 years ago, that economic growth has to be the precursor for civil aviation. Where you have air connectivity is where you will see tourism, where you will see investment, where you will see economic growth, where you will see employment.
But let me ask you this. There's hyper competitiveness as well in the Indian civil aviation sector. Cutthroat fares. And that means...
that's good.
It is good. It's good for the consumer.
Absolutely.
But for the viability of the airlines going forward, the argument that the airlines raise is that aviation turbine fuel needs to come down more at the level of the center, perhaps include that in the GST as part of the entire
So first,
GST.
Vishnu, I'd like to give you a slightly deeper understanding of the issue, right? I think it's easy for you to scratch the surface and say GST. You have to understand, and I think you do understand, that the GST process is a very detailed process.
Yeah.
It is a consultative process between all states, which is what you have always asked for, which is what we have always asked for, that we must work together along with states. So therefore, what have I done? As opposed to holding one's ear from this side, I've tried to do it from this side, which is by lowering VAT on ATF across 16 states and bringing 28 states into that basket, you're already down to a level of 1 to 4% on VAT on ATF.
Right.
So when you move to a GST regime, it's not going to be lower than a 1 to 4%.
Sure.
Right? So that's the hard work that we've already put in place. Now, the important point to understand about ATF is that we import most of our ATF into India. 1. 2, there is volatility with regard to ATF. And I must, through your channel, again thank the Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Mr. Hardeep Puri, for working along with us. There was great degree of volatility with regard to ATF pricing in the last 12 to 15 months. Generally, what we refer to as the crack, which is the volatility, the term used for volatility, between ATF pricing internationally and domestically was within a certain band. It went sky high through that band during the COVID period. We worked with the MOPNG and we worked out a price reference to the MOPAG, which is the base level, and we've worked with all the OMCs, oil marketing companies, to work out a volatility level of between 5 to 12% based on a MOPAG price, thereby curbing that volatility for airlines. So 2 things. 1, on the price for the raw material coming in, we've curbed the volatility and brought it down. 2, as far as tax levels on ATF, on VAT, We've brought 16 states onto the 1 to 4% level. So we've worked at both sides from the Civil Aviation Ministry along with the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, and we have created that environment. Now, with regard to your comment on cutthroat competition, that's a factor that plays in the market between players.
Sure.
I do not think that you want a ministry which has deregulated this market to then again become a regulator. And therefore, the market has to play itself out. We've also seen, after 20 years, a new entrant entering the sector.
Yes.
This sector has been always known for companies that shut shop. You've got Akasa Air, which has started a new airline. They started with 2 planes. They have now very rapidly increased their fleet over the last 3 months to very, very high levels. They're also playing for customers in terms of giving them a value proposition with low prices. So therefore, it depends on every market player, the strategy that the market player assumes. And I do not think it is for government or the ministry to start interfering in the pricing mechanism, which may be to the advantage of customers on the one hand, and maybe a volume game for some players on the other hand.
Okay, 1 or 2 more small questions. I know you have to leave. Safety is perhaps the most important issue in any aspect of aviation. We've risen from 102 to 48. That's a considerable jump. When we see reports about various airlines and air safety issues, and we've obviously got a very large fleet size and it is continuing to grow, is that an area of concern that are you satisfied with what our airlines are doing?
So first, let me say this, that we have 2 regulators in place in India. The first is a safety regulator, which is the DGCA. The second is a security regulator, which is BCAS.
Yeah.
For me, both those issues are paramount. Number 1, safety. Number 2, security. And there cannot be even a 1%, I do not even want to use the word compromise, but a leeway as far as those 2 issues are concerned. And I think the ministry and the government has pretty much shown that over the last year and a half in terms of its conduct. What is very reassuring for us is that ICAO, which is the nodal agency of civil aviation worldwide, has increased India's ranking from low 102 in 2018 to number 48 today. So we are among the principal countries of civil aviation in the world today, way ahead of many advanced countries in the area of civil aviation. We've jumped our percentage numbers from 69.95 in the last ranking percent to almost 86% across 8 parameters, of which 6 were judged this time around. So we've achieved, our safety regulator has achieved a lot in terms of processes and principles and its functioning, which has been certified today by ICAO. On the other hand, what we have done over the last year and a half is increased what is called within DGCA parlance our ASP, an annual surveillance plan. And our annual surveillance in 2019 was at roughly about 2,700, 800, all kinds of checks and processes. We've increased that in the budgeted area for 2022 to 3,719, and as of date, we have conducted almost 4,200. So we have put in place all the processes for surveillance. We've done random checks. We've moved our airlines from up on the value curve on camo audits, on ammo audits, the quality of engineers doing checking of flights before they are given the green signal. At all airports have been increased from A level of engineers to B1, B2, which is a much higher level of engineering capability in the last 3 months. So we've put all of these policies in place in terms of ensuring that we look at safety in a very rigorous manner.
Last question to you. Domestic aviation is really growing. Would you like to see a lot more done in terms of international aviation from airlines out of India?
Absolutely.
Is that being done at the pace that you want?
I have the ambition.
I mean, Air India obviously is going to acquire a lot of aircraft. What about other airlines?
I have the ambition.
Why do Middle Eastern airlines continue to dominate?
You're absolutely right, and I have the ambition. And I wondered to myself, why is it that we have not been able to create our own hub in India?
Right.
Why is India's hub either on our eastern neighbors or on our western neighbors?
Correct.
And I think it's important, and the time has come, because now today India has achieved those economies of scale, both in terms of fleet capability and in terms of desire of passengers and our citizens to travel abroad, to create that hub in India. And I'm working today as we speak with Delhi Airport as well as 2 or 3 airlines to look at a construct wherein we can create the first hub within India. I think it's important for that, and that's one of the things that I've been pursuing since I took over, that we need to get more wide-bodied aircraft, we need to go more long-haul, we need to do more direct routing, because if you do more direct routing, you or I as a customer or anyone else will prefer a direct flight rather than go via a hub, even though going via the hub may possibly be cheaper. And therefore, I'm very happy that our airlines, whether it's Air India, whether it's Indigo, whether it's SpiceJet, are now looking at wide-bodied aircraft, looking at long-haul flights, looking at point-to-point service. But what's happened, and this is again a situation internationally, is suddenly demand for aircrafts have gone sky high, and therefore manufacturers are not able to supply the planes to Vishnu or to anyone else. So what we have done within the Civil Aviation Ministry is that we have a wet lease clause, which used to be 3+3 earlier. I have now sat within our ministry, and we've increased that wet lease capability to 6+6. Thereby, that gives the leverage for airlines to go down the wet lease route in the interim for a year until they get their wide-bodied aircraft. And therefore, that's our job to be. I believe that my job in government and in this ministry, our job is to be a facilitator and not a regulator. And that's the attitude that we're working, because in airline success, in airport success, lies our success and lies the country's success.
Jyotiraditya Scindia, thank you very much for speaking to us. The Civil Aviation Minister talking about various aspects, from flight safety to aviation turbine fuel to growth in the sector, infrastructure as well. This is one of the most exciting sectors of India, of our economy. Going forward, millions more across our country stand to gain. It's a huge challenge, but hopefully the steps are being taken in the right direction.